Welcome to a new edition of Gerety Talks. Today we are having a chat with several members from Circulo Creativo USA, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting creativity in the US Hispanic advertising market, with the mission to improve the quality of creative work in the US Hispanic market. We welcome today Mónica Marulanda, ECD at Alma DDB, Pepe Aguilar, ECD at Gallegos United, and Flor Leibashov, co-founder, Chief Creative Officer at Beautiful Beast. Welcome and thanks for joining us today. So let's start by introducing yourselves and telling us more about your roles and agencies. Flor, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us to be on this conversation. This is amazing. I'm a fan of the Gerety Awards, so this is an honor. So Beautiful Beast, we're about to turn 3 years old. We're an independent, minority-owned agency. And our main focus, we call ourselves, it's all about cross-cultural, ideas that we generate through creativity and big data. And I don't know, we're super excited and happy to be on this journey after working for over 20 years. The founders, we've been working together for over 20 years in different agencies. So it's a dream come true for us, living the dream literally right now with Beautiful Beast.
Monica, would you like to continue?
Sure. My name is Mónica Marulanda, as you so correctly stated, and I'm an ECD at Alma. I think sometimes interchangeably people talk about Alma as Alma Miami, which we are. We're in Miami. Alma DDB, of course, we're part of DDB. We're recently talking some really interesting things. If you check out our website, I've seen some of the posts lately. We talk about being the ungeneral agency. There's a lot to unpack there, but it's a really interesting time for us. I mean, we've been around either one way or one name or another for over 30 years. So keeping fresh, making sure that we speak to people the way they want to be spoken is always incredibly important. 2 seconds ago, we were talking about, do we go just English or Spanish? And it's an amazing time donde podemos hacer los dos, no? We can go back and forth, whether we're talking, tweeting, texting, whatever it might be, but getting that message out to our consumers is incredibly important. And I'm super happy and grateful to be here. Of course, Gerety, every time I think of Gerety, I think of Gerety Great. Gerety Great, it kind of makes a little play in my head. Amazing panelists and amazing work and representation through the years. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm very honored. Not loving being like on the spotlight, as many creatives don't like to be sitting in front of the spotlight. But in this case, when we talk about what we're coming to talk about, and one thing in particular, once this gets rolling, it's incredibly proud work that we do at Alma, specifically with my team, and something for cancer, which is close and dear to everybody's hearts, because it's a tough topic. But thank you.
Pepe, your turn.
Hi all, I'm Pepe Aguilar. Thank you also for inviting us here. It's an honor. It's fantastic to be speaking with you here today. I lead the creative team at Gallegos United. Gallegos United is an agency that creates Hispanic content for some of the clients and general market for some of the other clients, which I think is a good reflection of also my own personal experience. I've worked in the US for 9 years in California and also in New York, but I've also worked in other countries. I'm originally from Mexico, but I worked in Ecuador and Peru also. And throughout all the process of going from one place to another, everything is based on understanding the culture and the insights. So as we approach, I don't know, this country is becoming, the US, I mean, is becoming a majority of minorities. So the rise of the Hispanic culture as becoming part of the mainstream culture, I think it's a great place to be in space and time. And also, well, I think that that's the way to go with the type of work that we do as Hispanics in the U.S.
Excellent. So let's start with some good news. We have some news for the members of Circulo Creativo USA regarding their participation in Gerety 2025. Flor, would you like to tell us more about it?
Yes. So Circulo Creativo is super excited that we are partnering with you guys, and you were super generous on giving us a great discount for all our members. So if you're a member of Circulo Creativo, and if you're not a member yet, you should be a member, because for all our members this year, we're gonna get this great discount for you when you enter to the Gerety Awards. So this is a call to action for you to do it right now. Find out more in our website, because it's really worth it, especially in these times, right, where you need to be very selective with the money that you get, times being on where you put your work. So this is great to have. So thank you so much for allowing us to have that discount.
Yeah, we hope to see some great campaigns entered from your members, of course. And you mentioned in the beginning that you were part of the Gerety jury last year. Why would you recommend your members to participate?
Wow, this experience was fantastic. Let me start by that. I mean, the work, I remember we were talking with Joe at the beginning, when he reached out, Joe is Lucia's partner. When he reached out, he was saying like, yes, the jury is all female oriented, but the work is not just female created. The work is world class, work that you see in the biggest festivals, and that's completely true. The fact that it was all female jurors in the room that were able to have these amazing discussions with leaders in the industry that, we are, a lot of us still, I wouldn't say use the word fight, but I'm going to use the word fight right now, right? But we are kind of like paving the way for the younger generation to be able to get, in those leadership levels, because still today there's a big gap on the female in advertising, Hispanic specifically, to get, to rise to those leadership positions. It's great to see so many leaders from around the globe that is happening in other parts of the world. So it's kind of like giving you that empowerment and giving you hope that we can get there from the Hispanic part here in the US, which is something that we're lacking. We're actually about to post a survey that we did internally with the Hispanic industry on where the roles of the female are and the opportunities where they are to grow, in the different agencies throughout US. So that was super empowering for me to be in that room, with all these leaders from all over the world, and for the best agencies as well. The work was amazing. There's a few jewels that I kept to my heart that I think they were like wonderful, that of course they got, their rewards at the end of the day. So it's an experience that I wish we can repeat, and I wish, Monica and all other leaders in the industry can go and have it. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit about the Creative Circle. What inspired the creation of the organization, and how has its mission evolved over time?
Pepe, you want to answer, or Monica, or you want me to go?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was not there when the Circulo Creativo in the US was established, but I've known many of the founding members for many years. So it surely came out of a labor of love, first of all, for the industry. And back then, the Hispanic industry was not as it is right now. They were like breaking walls and reinventing something that wasn't there. So I guess there's Circulo Creativos in other countries. So I guess the inspiration came from, let's get united, because we're not, of course, we're frenemies in terms of sometimes we're struggling to get the same clients, but at the same time, we have to be partners, because if we want this sector of the industry to grow, united, we stand a better chance, and we can make this thing bigger for the future, which they did. Because if you see right now Circulo Creativo, like it's a powerhouse. It's a referendum of where the Hispanic agencies want to be in terms of communication, of sharing resources, of sharing information, and of course in events that put us all together in the same place.
Yeah, Circulo is turning 25 years actually. We've been celebrating during 2024. We celebrate 25 years throughout the year. We ended up actually 2024 with a huge event to celebrate, those 25 years. And throughout those years, like Pepe is saying, I mean, not only Circulo helped connect the creatives all over the US, which we are, spread throughout, and agencies, but also help grow the industry from a business perspective, right? I mean, it put us in the map global-wise, the industry. Think about this. Before, we were not able to have young creatives at Cannes, for example, right? With Circulo Creativo, we were able to actually identify the Hispanic market as its own market, independent from the US, where now we can go to the Gerety and work with you guys, right? And have representation there, or the other festivals around. So it really helped put all the agencies on top, so clients can also see our power, on that end. So it helped not only from a creative part, from a networking part, but also from a business part.
And how do you define creativity in the context of the US Hispanic advertising market?
That's a good question. Monica, you want to answer to that one?
It's interesting because I think everybody in every agency at some point has those conversations, those hard conversations. What's creative? Is it something that drives results? Right? Is it something that drives more visits? Is it something that sells more product? Is it something that wins more awards? And I think every agency has gone through different, realizations, me imagino. I guess Pepe can talk about his agency. You guys everybody can add in, but I think creativity is inspiring, and we see it all the time. If things even that are posted online, people love commercials or people hate it, it's always moving. Now, whether it gets awards or not, that's where you have that beautiful consensus of, I guess, people within the industry, whether you're a filmmaker or an advertiser, and you come together and you award pieces of work that are inspiring, that you should just say in your gut, I wish I would have done that. I wish I'd have thought that. Or we had that nugget of an idea and these people blew it out of the water. I mean, that is the ultimate creativity, right? Because when you see it, you should say, man, that's breathtaking. But, it's not always going to be the same for each and every person, whether you're in the industry or not. Language is going to be different, or insights. But I think it definitely should move, right? I think the word should move. It should move, whether it's clicks or sales or hearts or tears, it should move. And that to me personally is the part that makes me, I guess, happy, makes me warm inside. Anything que me pone los pelos de punta, anything that even, that you're like, trying to dry your eye in the middle of a screening, that to me is still beautiful.
And in your view, how can brands balance cultural relevance with universal appeal in their campaigns targeting the Hispanic market?
Wow. That's loaded. I mean, I don't know. We have, everybody has these bad words. Universal appeal, that's incredibly difficult, right? I think universal appeal in order to appeal to everyone, I don't know if it's super, super possible. But when your insights are true, data now, when we used to sit in research and you're like, you get these little juicy nuggets of information, but then you blow that out into some amazing campaign, right? I don't know if it's universal. I don't know if it's going to always move everybody or if it's going to speak to everybody, but at least when it speaks authentically to a group of people, whether or not somebody of a different color, of a different inclination, somebody says, you know what, I can relate to that too. That's amazing. Because we all share these little truths, right? And it just depends on, how we bring it to life on the screen or on the screens. Universal's hard. When you hit universal and when you hit a couple of buckets, you're like, holy shit, that was amazing. That was amazing. Like we hit it out of the park. But it's not always possible. I mean, you can dub it, you can subtitle it. I mean, you talk about language insights. It's a lot. It's a lot, especially now that we can see everything on a screen, right? Or on your phone, things in different languages, things that, we might not be able to understand. But it's a really, really cool time.
I do think that, regarding that, the Hispanic market in particular in the US is not a monolith. I mean, if you go to any other country, right? I mean, you can go to, I don't know, Mexico or Argentina or, right? When you're working there, you have your general population, they're all, mostly, they all share the culture. When you're talking to the Hispanic market in the US, you have, yes, a broader universal culture. We're all Hispanic, so we're all supposed to be sharing certain things on culture. However, each of those little bubbles have their differentiations as well, right? They're not exactly the same because it's not a monolith. So I think it has to do with, of course, what you need to say, to whom we need to talk about it, who's that mindset, right? I mean, we like to talk in the agency, we like to talk about the mindset, not so much about the demographic, but what are we trying to convey here? What's that mindset that we need to have that relationship, to wants to move, like Monica is saying. We talk about a lot about action, like, okay, what's the action we want? What is this reaction we want? Like, everything needs to happen, right? We need to have something on the other end. What is that we're looking? So in order to that, we need those cultural nuances at the end of the day, right? But I do believe that we're not monolith, and a lot of people sometimes wants to put it into one bucket.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said, Flor. When I was a Mexican in Mexico, I never thought of myself as a Latino or Hispanic. I was just a Mexican, And you come here to the US, or if you're born here, and you get this label of Hispanic, and Hispanic is like understood like a country, but it is not. It's like there's huge differences between Argentinians and Colombians, or Mexicans and Chileans. I mean, if we're all put in the same bucket, I think it's a generalization that affects us in the wrong way, because creativity is about showing stuff in a new way, so it's surprising again, so it's interesting again. If not, you're just creating generic content. You can't be creative if you try to appeal to everyone. You need the insights. And the insights is understanding. I mean, creativity should be universal, but the appreciation of that creativity is better where there's more connections. Like, oh, this is made for me. This creativity that I'm watching is saying something that is truthful about me, or how I live, or how I think. Therefore, I create an emotional bond with the content. So back to your question, I don't think that you can generalize Hispanic insights for everyone. But what is happening is the Hispanic community in the US is the fastest growing, both in terms of numbers and in terms of money also. So I don't know, as time passes, we are becoming slowly, or going towards being a majority here in the US. So eventually we'll get there. But even then, and still, I think that the background of where people come from, and the new cauldron of culture that is being created in the US, makes it necessary to have insights that appeal to a specific target. It will never be creativity for all, I think.
And Monica, you were part of the team of one of the campaigns rewarded last year in Gerety. You mentioned this before, late for the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, which was rewarded with a bronze in the communication category. Tell us about how the idea for this campaign came to life.
Oh my goodness. It's now going to be almost a year. The beautiful thing about ideas is what sparks it. When did it happen? How did the beautiful explosion happen? It was long ago in a meeting in New York, but really it was a giant IAT meetings that now everybody calls IAT meetings, these wonderful acronyms. A meeting of the minds where we were all sitting down. All the agencies were present at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and we were there, the account team, creative, planning, everybody's there, and everybody's soltando, giving juicy nuggets. What happened this past year? What are you bringing to the table? What's going to happen next year? And of course, like you said, it's Memorial Sloan Kettering. So we're talking about cancer, right? So the statistics are horrible. The subject matter is painful. Things that are being discussed are hard, right? So how do you bring light into that? So it was this idea that happened because of data, right? Because it happened because of the staggering amount of Hispanics that were dying of cancer, right? And so at one point, between everything, planning and creative and the team, when we're just having that moment of what it is that we're talking about, or what is the opportunity, we had this nugget of, what it boils down to. We say it, Alvar says it really funny because he says it in Spanish, and Spanish is a very complicated sentence, and then we kind of boil it down into English. But the real fear of cancer isn't, or shouldn't just be, of getting it, right? Of getting cancer. It should be biggest fear is of finding out too late that you have it, right? And that day when we walk back and we take that idea home, right? Si hay algo que tienes que temerle más que al propio cáncer, es encontrarlo tarde, right? So we say, it would roll off of our tongues, and we're like, and we just started with that. We're like, how do we show people, that this is the true fear, right? And then all these insights, Pepe just talked about it. Pepe talked about our truths. You start talking about, ay, no, el Latino no invoca al diablo. We don't say the C word. Jorge Becerra, our planner, says, back then it was all about, he goes, we don't talk about Bruno, and Hispanics don't talk about cancer. Like, there was all these little bits of pieces that, while it wasn't funny, how did we bring this idea to life? Ultimately to convince Hispanics that, you had to get screened on time. And then when we would throw out that information, we're like, on time, ha ha ha, Hispanics aren't on time for anything. And they're this cosmos of insights, truths, strategies, builds, right? That might not be a blanket for everybody, but they were a blanket for us to build this beautiful film on. That's where it started. It started with all these conversations in and around the table of these truths that we had to speak to Hispanics and get them to screen on time. We are a culture that tends to, we pride ourselves that llegamos tarde hasta un bautizo, llegas tarde hasta tu propio funeral. So all these crazy sayings of we're not really all hip into being on time. But you do have to be on time for one thing. And then this is, for your cancer screening. And then convincing Hispanics, oh, wait a minute, but then do I want to find it? Of course you want to find it. You want to find it on time so you can treat it on time, and therefore come full circle so we prevent all those horrible deaths. All that to say that it was for us, it's a short film. All of us here, we're used to 30s, 60s, the dreaded 6-second. I didn't say that. But and then suddenly we were talking about making a 3-minute film, or however long, to get this beautiful story, love story out. So that was the start of it. And it took a life of its own, and we're here almost a year later. But we launched on World Cancer Day, which was February 4th on a Sunday, at the, online and everywhere at the Iberoamerica Film Festival in Miami. And then the film started traveling around the United States, obviously, TV, everywhere else that it aired, online, websites. But it ultimately, grabbed people that were watching films or online. It showed a love story. So people tend to like, ay, qué lindo. Oh my God, I'm like that. And you start relating to something, right? Until we come in at the end, and it's this horrible truth that if you're not on time for this, it could cost you your life, right? So it took us on this wild ride. When you watch people watching the film up in a movie screening, right, in a theater, and people are giggling and people are laughing and people are poking each other like, ay, tú eres así. And then at the end, it's like, oh my gosh, this message was a true message. And afterwards, we had panel discussions, where people let it all hang out. There's people crying in the screenings. And the message was just one person. Somos super metiches. We love getting in our family's business, drag a person to get screened on time, and hopefully save lives. So ironically enough, in advertising, we say, it's just advertising. We're not saving lives, but every once in a while, you get to do something like that, and we hope and pray that it does make a difference. So that was our Gerety Award bronze of last year that we were incredibly proud of. But a lot of work into that, and hoping that Hispanics continue to this quest of love to get people screened on time.
It is a great spot, so congratulations again.
Thank you.
And Pepe, you mentioned this before when we started. Your bio says you have lived in the US, in Mexico, Canada, Ecuador, and Peru. What were the biggest differences of working in all these countries, and what were the biggest challenges when you moved from one place to another?
Well, I think that I've been very lucky to have all those opportunities. And strangely enough, because it's not common that as a creative, you get invited by a company to go to other places. It's usually that I think that creatives that migrate from one place to another is because of their own will. But in this case, I spent 18 years at Gray. I started in Mexico. And at some point, I raised my hand and said, hey, I'd like to go somewhere else. And I was thinking that I would be invited to the US, like right away. Instead, hey, you said that you were looking for a job elsewhere. I said, yeah. How about Guayaquil? And I said, is it next to the ocean? Like I was not even sure of that. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So I convinced my family to join me in this adventure, and then I got invited to Peru, back to Mexico, and eventually to New York. And so it was two things that I thought were the same. I mean, the same company, and at least in the first two trips, I thought that I was safe with Spanish because I was migrating to a place that also spoke Spanish. So my conception was it's going to be easy because we have the same culture, we have the same language. It was anything but that. It was culture is completely different from one country to another. Of course, you have, I don't know, 80% in common, but the other 20, if you don't expect it, makes it like it's a complete confusion, and it made it very interesting, challenging. I love the experience, but I think that mentally I was not prepared for that. So when I went to Ecuador, and then I spent there almost 5 years, and then Peru 2 years, and then back to Mexico. I thought I'm going back to Mexico. It's the easiest thing of all. It was the most difficult one because I had already, adapted to those other countries. So again, my expectation was wrong when I came back to Mexico. Spent there 3 years before finally being invited to New York, which was my original intent from the start. So I had to do the whole tour. But I think that really set me up for understanding the Hispanic culture here in the U.S. because I had already been exposed in all those countries. I had mixed teams with Colombians, Argentinians, and people from all over the place. So it seemed easier for me when I got to New York. I had already also been exposed to the way of working of US, which is completely different from Latin America. The way structure is made, and the way the timelines are made, and the deadlines is completely organized. And there's a process. And if you go to Latin America, it's more spontaneous. Like, yeah, let's figure it out as we go. So strangely enough, the easiest one for me, at least, was coming to the US. But yeah, I think that, again, as I said before, being Hispanic is a label that is too generic for the amount of insights that apply to us as a group. So you do have to pay attention on who you're speaking to. It's not the same as Hispanics not even, Hispanics in Miami to Hispanics in New York. It changes from city to city.
Hmm. And let's do some future predictions. What do you think will be the trends in the campaigns from the region this year, and what topics or issues would you like to have reflected in the creativity that comes out from the region?
That's a great question. Actually, everybody is wondering what's going to happen this year in the region. I mean, elections happened last year, right? And we do know that there was an impact last time for the industry overall. I mean, some clients were pulling back, their resources for a while because of different political issues happening. So we need to see how that's going to be evolving during this year regarding the clients and the investments and everything else. But regarding the creativity, I hope it's not what I think. It's a wish actually because I don't know, but I wish and I hope that we get to do actually more creative than ever, because we know that Latinos in challenging times, we get actually to leverage more our creative ways, to get through those times. So I'm wishing to see more actually outstanding work than in other times that everything can be a little bit easier in a way, right? I hope we get to see fun ideas, and I hope that purpose is there, but it's not about the purpose only, but it's also about what we're trying to communicate as well, and we can have that nice balance. I do believe in the past years, from a moment we went too far into the purpose driven, and then we were so serious that we forgot to laugh and we forgot the fun part of advertising, and then it started to come back a little bit more. So I hope we can keep on going there as well, right? To have fun with the work that we do, to connect with the audience at the end of the day, and of course always getting those results, but again, bringing back that fun, that surprise that I think that people need in their lives as well, to cut with the things happening all day, every day, especially in the times being politically here in the US. If there's going to be happening all this mess around context wise, that we can get to do with brands some work that connects with them from an emotion, and give them hope and fun as well.
I see two trends that also will affect the immediate future, and these are not Hispanic exclusive. One, I think, is the rise of AI as a tool, not just for writing and stuff, but also for videos. There's a lot of ads already being created entirely with AI tools, which means that there's going to be a shakeup in the industry, because less time is required to create stuff, and in some cases less people are required to create stuff. So I think that will change how we think of advertising, how we execute advertising, and how much we spend. Because if you can create something in my computer, instead of going on a shoot in Latin America that still cost $1 million, how will that affect what we do? It's not going to be like immediate, but I think that this year we'll see the slowly but surely the change of all that. That's one trend. And the other, I think, and that is, I like this topic because it puts the responsibility on us. It seems that people are realizing, and there's a lot of concern on digital addiction, especially for young people. And we create a lot of the content that appears in that digital platforms that are becoming the villains now. So what will we do as creatives to provide a solution for the society that we work for, in terms of, are we gonna like keep writing on promoting this digital addiction, or is there a way to, we mentioned it in several other things, like on the top is like, and you just Flor, you just said it, like when you try to solve problems that are society of society, then advertising tries to do something better. And Monica also said it with with the fantastic campaign that you made. Like, will we try to solve that digital addiction, creating advertising in other platforms, or even reinventing the platforms that we use? I don't see that there's solutions yet. I don't see that the trends of, okay, now we're migrating to something else. It's not there yet. But I think that it will become something that all the agencies will be worried about this year.
Monica, what about your creative wishes for this year to wrap up?
Definitely not AI panic. That's a huge nobody wants any kind of panic. I think most of all, I mean, I guess the emotional part of me, or the human part, wants happy, healthy team, which continues to be inspired by amazing clients, right? The relationship with our clients that continue to grow, right? Because people have all kinds of conversations right now, like where are the clients going and what is everybody doing? Like you guys are saying, it's really hard to forecast. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. But I think that we continue to do things. My hope is that we continue to do things that come from the heart, that are smart, right? That you take the data, you take the analytics, you take all that, and you do use the AI as a tool with the human in the center, right? Because it takes this beautiful group of people to kind of spitball and brainstorm and kind of these big ideas come out. So I hope that we can continue, instead of trying to forecast and be videntes, psychic, and knowing what's happening, we live here now. I heard on the news today, regardless of AI, there's 60,000 Barnes and Noble opening in the United States is coming in the next couple of years. And we were like, and the newscaster was saying, but that's incredible. That's like, anti-tech. That's a book. And it's like, yeah, we also are a group of people. Humanity tends to, who remembers, zig and zag, you know what I mean? When people are going one way, go with the other. We're a stubborn bunch, right? So I hope that a year from now, when we're hearing a different charla, we could see how many things evolved, how many things the same, and how many things we were able to how we were able to connect with our consumers in fun ways, not overly serious, in ways that make people smile and feel something. Make people move.
Thank you so much for this great talk. We hope to see a lot of good work and a lot of good work coming from your members and the campaigns entered into Gerety too. Let's hope for a great year for creativity in general and for creativity in the Hispanic market too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for making this so pleasant and not painful. That's scary being in front of the camera. Gracias mil. Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. Ciao.